Hi, I'm Rich Formidoni with Korg. I'm here with my friends at Kraft Music, and today we're going to have some fun with the MS-20 Mini. In the late 70s, Korg introduced the original MS-20 monophonic synthesizer. It's an all-analog synth, and it's been used by countless artists to produce a wide variety of sounds. Now it's 2013, and the MS-20 is back in the form of the MS-20 Mini. It's an all-analog signal path synth with the addition of USB and MIDI inputs. It's 86% of the original size, with great feeling keys that are just bigger than our mini keys and slightly smaller than full-size keys. Every aspect of the original MS-20 has been preserved, from the characteristic filters, all the oscillator selections, and the semi-modular patch bay. Any sound you could create with the original MS-20, you can recreate with the MS-20 Mini. The MS-20 Mini is a 2-oscillator semi-modular analog synthesizer. This is the sound of the first oscillator, set to a square wave with variable pulse width. Now let's mix in the second oscillator. Just below the controls for the pitch and pulse width, you'll find scale that lets you adjust the octave settings for each of the oscillators independently. Next, there's a mixer which lets you adjust the levels of the individual oscillators. Below the oscillators, there's portamento, which lets you glide from one note to another with a varying degree of time, and a master tune. You can also tune oscillator 2 separately and get some cool detuned sound effects. Next to the VCO mixer are the characteristic MS-20 coveted filters. There's a low-pass filter and a high-pass filter, and using them together produces a really, really familiar sound that's really versatile and sounds awesome. That's the high-pass filter, and that's the low-pass filter. When you crank up the resonance, it has a very characteristic growl. Below are settings that let you connect the modulation generator, which is very similar to an LFO, to various aspects of the synth. So for example, if I want to take this waveform and set it to adjust the pitch, I can get a little vibrato going. Or if I set the waveform down to a sawtooth, it's more of a ray gun kind of effect. I can do the same thing with the filters. The high pass and the low pass. Next, you have your 2 envelope generators, which you can really apply to any aspect of the sound. Now, over here is where the phrase semi-modular comes into play. The audio path is configured so that you don't have to have anything patched to make sound. But using the patch panel, you can dramatically alter the signal path and reconfigure the synth as you see fit. So, for example, on the left side, I've got a modulation wheel and a button. What I'm going to do is take the modulation wheel and connect it to the low-pass filter. Grab a patch cable, there's the mod wheel, and there's the low-pass filter. I'll take the modulation generator automation down and crank up the external modulation, which relates to the mod wheel. Now let's do something a little different. I'm going to take this button and map it so that it raises the pitch by a whole step. So to do that, I need to take the button, connect it to the envelope generator 1 trigger in, and then take the output of the envelope and connect it to the total oscillator control. Now we turn up the external knob on the frequency modulation. A little bit too high, a little bit too low. And now we can actually modify the motion that the button produces using the envelope controls. So here's envelope generator 1. Lower the attack a little bit, and it takes a little bit of time to reach the new pitch. Lower the release. And you've got a slower release as well. One of the coolest things about the MS-20 and the MS-20 Mini is the external signal processor. You can take any kind of sound, run it through the MS-20, and process it using the filters, the modulation generators, the envelopes, the whole signal path. So what I'm going to do is start up a beat on my phone, and now I'm going to connect it to the signal input on the MS-20. So now I can see some lights going, indicating a peak and a trigger output. So I'm going to lower it just a tiny bit, and now I'm going to take another cable, run the output to the external signal in. Now if I hold down a key, I can actually hear the beat being played. I'm going to lower the volume of both oscillators, so now we can hear just the beat. From here, I can use the filters, or anything else on the MS-20 to process it. The other cool thing you can do is actually have an external source trigger the MS-20. So I'm going to take yet another cable, take the trigger output, and connect it to the trigger input. Now I'll turn the oscillators back up. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the modulation wheel to the filter again. You can even use the MS-20 Mini's frequency to voltage converter. If you have a pitched monophonic source, like a bass guitar or a microphone, you could sing into the MS-20 and it'll match your pitch with its own oscillators. So that's the MS-20 Mini. And if you thought all that stuff was cool, wait till you see the manual. It's exactly the same as the original MS-20 manual, and it includes some diagrams that show you creative patches and different ways to use the MS-20 to its full potential. What's really cool is that you can get the MS-20 Mini at a place like Kraft Music for a fraction of the price of the original. Once again, thanks to my friends at Kraft Music. I'm Rich Formidoni. Thank you for watching.